it right now. So,
Yeah.
hi everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on designing your marketing emails. Thank you all for joining in. And my name is Paul. I'm the customer operations specialist here at Email Octopus. I will be your host today, along with another customer operations specialist, Mia. Hi, Mia.
Hello, everybody.
So Mia is our support specialist, but she's got lots of experience in design too. She's a designer and illustrator, so she knows what she's talking about. During this webinar, we'll show you everything we know about creating well-designed and engaging emails that catch your subscribers' attention. All right, I think we can get started. Let's go.
Let's go.
So here's a short summary of what we'll cover today. First, we'll discuss some of the perks of good email design and what makes a well-designed email. We will also talk about best email design practices for each email section and discuss some current email design trends. And of course, we'll give you tips on how to make sure your emails represent your brand. Finally, we'll have some time for a Q&A session. Feel free to ask your questions in the questions tab right away. But please note that the questions tab is a separate tab, not the same one as chat. Make sure to use it when you want to ask something. We'll collect the questions from there and reply to as many as we can.
Yes.
All right, let's start with the perks of good email design. Mia, can you tell us why email design is so important?
Okay, so let's get straight into it. So having well-designed email campaigns can massively impact your email marketing. A good email design will catch your readers' attention for longer, so they'll be more likely to engage with your email. It would also direct them to a clear call to action, so the readers will take an action that you want them to take. For example, visit your website or make a purchase. If you send emails that people want to engage with, there's a higher chance for your brand to be remembered and recognized. So you'll create a better bond with your readers and customers, and this can help increase your conversion rates. Very, very good for that. At the same time, email marketing is a very cost-effective marketing strategy. So for example, sending thousands of emails each month using Email Octopus can be as affordable as $9 per month.
Makes sense. Emails are an effective and affordable marketing tool, and when they look good, they work even better.
Yeah.
Now, what would you consider a good email design?
What would I consider a good email design? So, for starters, a well-designed email should definitely catch your subscribers' attention. That's for starters. And when someone receives your email, they should know right away who the sender is. For example, when they see a logo at the very top. It should also be easy for your recipients to judge what the email is about, so the content of it. And of course, it should also be easy on the eyes, so not cluttered or hard to read. A truly great email should be created with responsive design in mind to make sure it's easy to read on every type of device. So the smaller ones, the medium ones, the big ones, everything. It's also important to make sure that it's accessible, for example, for the visually impaired.
So Mia mentioned how to distinguish a good email design, but let's dive deeper into this.
Yeah.
There are a couple of rules or best practices you'll need to keep in mind before you hit send. We've divided them into different categories, but each is equally important.
Yeah, before you hit the send button, there are some general best practices to keep in mind. So let's start with images. Sorry, my video froze for a second there. Let's start with images and videos in your emails. So make sure to choose the right size and format for your images, first and foremost. Generally a width of 600 to 1200, so 1200 pixels is considered best for images and emails, and it's widely recommended as it's optimal for most devices, and especially the mobile ones. A good rule of thumb would be to set the image width to match the width of the email template that you are currently using, which is typically 600 pixels. The ideal image size is between 200 kilobytes and 1 megabyte, but we recommend using images no bigger than 500 kilobytes so that you don't run into any display or loading issues. It's best to use widely recognizable file formats as well, so JPEG or PNG. Other formats might not be supported by all email providers. This is the case, for example, with SVG images, which we as a platform do support, yes, but we don't recommend using them. Some email clients like Gmail, for example, don't fully support them, so please keep that in mind. When it comes to the recommended text to image ratio for emails, it's 60 to 40, with a minimum 60% text and a minimum of 40% image of the email design. We would also suggest adding image alt text so recipients can read what your images are about, even if the images don't display for them correctly. Alt text can also make your emails more accessible because screen readers for the visually impaired recipients can pick them up.
Right. So this is recommended. And should we avoid something?
Yes, there's a couple of things that we should avoid. So, most importantly, don't add too large images to your emails because the larger the image size, the slower your email will load in your subscribers' inboxes. Also, avoid using only image-only emails. They aren't good for accessibility and deliverability. Many spammers send image-only emails. So at this point, filters are set up to detect this behavior. To protect their users, many email clients automatically block image-only emails. Other than that, some email clients don't automatically load images, which makes the email inaccessible for some users. We also don't recommend adding MP4 files or embedded videos to emails, like YouTube videos, for example, as most email clients don't support those file types. Instead, you can use our video content block or embed links. So YouTube would work, but with a link to your files stored in cloud services, for example, like Dropbox or Google Drive.
Yeah, hopefully adding videos directly in emails will be possible in the future, but we're not here just yet.
Yeah.
So, Mia, are there any guidelines you recommend for text structure? So things like headings, paragraphs?
Yeah, sure. There's a couple. So, the most important tip here is to divide the text into short paragraphs to make the copy easier to read or even just scan through it. You should aim for no more than 5 short sentences per paragraph to ensure the best reader experience. Headings also help organize your email into easy to scan chunks. A good heading should be concise and tell readers exactly what the following copy is about. Breaking down the text with columns, images, dividers would work here very well too. And remember that your readers have limited time and attention. So if you want your message to be as clear and concise as possible, consider using, for example, bullet points or list features to make your email even more readable.
That's a good suggestion. It's much easier to digest information when it's presented in a list form. I know that works for myself, that's for sure.
I think, yeah, we all can agree with that point. For example, at the same time, as you can see here, this is a completely different approach. So at the same time, don't make your emails too long. This is totally unreadable. Some email clients also clip long messages. So this means that only a part of your email will be displayed in recipients' mailboxes. They would have to click a link at the bottom of the email to see the whole message, which is not ideal because people may miss important parts of your email, or even the basic things, the most basicest things like the unsubscribe link or your contact details.
So obviously, it's not great when people can see the whole email you just sent to them. But this last point Mia mentioned, if someone would like to unsubscribe, but they won't see the option how to do it, they can mark your email as spam instead. And we definitely don't want that to happen. But
Exactly.
going back to design, sorry, I'm geeking about deliverability because that's my thing.
That's
Uh,
your forte.
yeah. Do I need to remember anything when selecting email font? Maybe I should use more than one.
Okay, so about fonts is best used to use no more than 3 different fonts in your email. Ideally, you should use one font, but for your headings one for your headings and one for body text, and maybe third for extra flair if you're feeling a little crazy. But that's about it. So more fonts can make your email look pretty chaotic. If you're not sure which font would pair with the font that you have chosen for your brand, You can find popular font pairings online created by, for example, Canva or Figma or other known design platforms. They can help with that. One thing to keep in mind here is that sans serif fonts, such as Arial and Verdana, are considered marginally easier to read on screen, so they're best used for body text. Also, make sure to your email is easy to read. So use font size 14 or 16 for body text and 22 to 24 for headings.
Gotcha. And you singled out some specific fonts like Arial, that they are a good choice. Maybe
Yeah.
there are some fonts that we should avoid.
There is a couple as well. I know it's very tempting to use custom fonts to make your emails stand out and just look super custom and great, but really avoid using those if you can, because custom fonts will not render correctly on the majority of email clients, and you'll need to specify a web-safe fallback font anyway. This makes the custom font largely redundant. There's a lot of things that you have to do. It's not really worth it. And of course, try not to use all caps or text bolding across the whole text, because it might feel too aggressive to your readers.
Right. And when you use caps or bold, you want to make the text stand out.
Yeah,
And if the whole text is like that, then there is nothing it can stand against. So the whole purpose is defeated.
exactly.
Now, many of our viewers would probably agree that one of the main points of marketing emails is to increase conversion. And the best way to do that is by using a call to action, or CTA for short. That way, you tell the readers what you want them to do in the email. What can we do to optimize our CTAs, Mia?
Okay. So you want your CTA buttons, so call to action buttons, to be large enough not to be missed, of course, but not so large that they overshadow other elements of your email. So make sure that there's plenty of empty space around the button to make it easier to click first and to give it more attention second. To make it even more prominent, put your CTAs in colored boxes. Not only it looks great, but it makes it stand out from the background, and the color of the box should match the rest of your email. The CTA message itself should be a verb to indicate the exact action you'd like the readers to take. So, for example, take our survey or order now or register for free, stuff like that.
Good ones. They're so catchy. I'm feeling the urge to take action myself right now.
So, that's how they should work. It's best to focus on driving your readers to one particular action, like we mentioned, so they want to take that action. Don't add, for example, 3 or 4, so a lot of CTAs in a single email to avoid confusing your message. Just focus on that one important, as you can see, redeem discount here, which is looking very great, very clickable.
If there's too much choice, people might not know what to do.
Yeah.
What else?
Okay, probably the most important aspect, your branding, which is my favorite as well. So let's get straight into it. Every email you send should be a positive reflection of your brand. Your readers should be able to quickly look over your email and just know exactly who it's from right away. It's super important to have a set of design guidelines that can be applied to every email to build a strong brand identity across all of your email campaigns that you send. One of the best ways to maintain a strong brand identity is to make sure your emails visually match your website. The most important visual element of your website is your logo. So always add your logo at the very top of your emails. This will make sure that your readers know who the email came from as soon as they open it.
That's why our mascot, Otto, shows up in so many emails we send out to our users.
Exactly. He's everywhere. He's everywhere on our website, in our emails. I think it's very important, very cute. And for example, his color, you could see that he's our brand violet. And let's get into the color. So many sources that say that color improves brand recognition by 80%. That's a lot, I would say. It's why so many brands stick to one main color and choose contemporary colors to match it. When you think about the biggest brands, the biggest conglomerates, you can confirm that super easily in your mind. You recognize the colors and you recognize the brands. And that's why you should definitely use your brand colors in your emails everywhere, from the header to the CE buttons to the footer, throughout the whole email. Although many brands prefer a white background with accents of colors in their emails, don't be afraid to use a paler version of your brand colors as a background instead. That works very well too.
That can help you stand out in a crowded inbox, sure.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd also suggest adding an outline of the logo in the same color as the background of the email. This way, the logo will be noticeable, even if dark mode overrides your email designs, which happens a lot. So please keep that in mind. It's a very great way to make it stand out.
Yeah, looks sharp.
Yeah. So let's get back into colors. If your branding consists only of a limited number of colors, you can create a wider palette using third-party websites. Like, for example, on the left we have Adobe Color, and on the right we have Coolors. Both of those tools allow you to find more color options based on your existing branding colors. And for example, here in the presentation, we have an example based on two of our brand colors, which look great.
So if there are some viewers unfamiliar with Email Octopus, they might think that this sounds cool, but also like a ton of work to set all this up. Good
Mm,
news. When you use Email Octopus, you can set up your own branding within your account. Mia, can you
yeah.
share a bit more about that aspect?
I'd be very happy to. So, you can set up your branding in your account settings on Email Octopus. There, you can add your brand logos, colors, fonts, social links. You can see it all here. You can add up to 5 logos and pick the main one at the very start, and the main one, which will be automatically pulled into your branded templates at the very top. In the colors section, you can select a primary color that will be used for your buttons and links, and for secondary colors that will be saved for you to choose straight away from the editor, so they're always there handy for you. In the typography, you can select the default font for your headers and for body text. For our skincare brand that you can see the example of here, we set those to Montserrat at 24 for headings and Roboto 16 for body text, which is a great font combo. In the very last section, you can see and save your social links, and we have a lot of social links. For this one, we use Facebook and Instagram, but you can have a lot of other options in the branding section in Email Octopus. All of those elements will be automatically applied to all templates from the branded section.
As you can see, that looks quite easy to do. And what about the images or illustrations? Can I use stock photos in my emails?
Yeah, well, that actually depends. Using your own media in emails is always best, always recommended, is just great because it helps reinforce your brand identity. You can, yes, use stock images, of course, but please keep one thing in mind. Remember that there's always a risk that multiple other brands have already used the picture that you would want to use. So if you need to use stock images, which is perfectly fine, just pick the ones that best represent your brand and make sure not to use too many. Ideally, you can mix them with your own images to find the right balance and customize it a little bit. We actually have an integration with a free stock image platform called Pexels. So you can search for stock images directly in our editor. Super easy and fast. And
hmm
it's just great.
I personally love this feature. It's very useful for new businesses and organizations which might not
Yeah.
have their own imagery just yet.
Yes, exactly. That said, if you use illustrations, for example, as you can see here, we have some pictures. It's the best idea to continue this trend if you use them across your website, for example, in your logo, and just basically the imagery is illustration based. Remember that one of the main pillars of design is consistency. So a good example here, for example, is our Email Octopus newsletter. You can see our issues from August and September. We use a lot of illustrations across our website. So including illustrations in our emails is a great extension of that. And it also helps our readers identify the email straight away.
Mhm. So we went through all of the content you can add to your email, but what about the email sections?
Okay, yeah, it's pretty simple as you can see. In each email has a header, a body, and a footer.
Kind of like humans do. Okay, let's go through them from top to bottom.
Okay, just like humans do, this is the header. So our head, the very top. The header is the first thing that people will see when they open your email. So this is the greatest ever, the best place to include your logo and company branding. That way, readers will exactly know who the email is from and what to expect from it from the very start. This is also where you should include an option to view the email in a browser in case the email doesn't load properly in the reader's inbox, which can happen for some email clients.
Yeah, I remember seeing such a link at top of many emails that I receive. Next up, we have the body section.
The body section. So our torso, let's say, maybe let's count in the legs. This is the body of an email, and it's where the most of its content will be displayed. So while the header and footer of your email should be much simpler, the body is where you can get very creative. Generally, your email's body should follow a simple structure. So you might want to start by placing a headline or a greeting like "Hi there" or "Hi first name," so "Hi Mia" or "Hi Paul." Um, to catch your reader's attention first, and then you can also place some visual information under the headline. It's a good idea to add a short introduction, a sentence or two before focusing on your core message. And then there is time for your main message, the hero of the body of the email, the essence of it. It's where your readers are likely to spend the most time. So while you can definitely include more images and paragraphs and CTAs in this section, you need to consider one thing. Your reader's attention span is not unlimited. So it's important to make sure your message is very clear to them.
So now going to some food analogy, this would be like the main course of your email.
Exactly. And the last part will be the footer. And the footer sits right at the bottom of an email. It contains links to your privacy policy, for example. You can insert it right there. And it should provide the option to unsubscribe from future emails from you. It's also a very good place to put social media icons with links to your business pages. You should also include a valid postal address for your business to make sure your email is compliant with international email regulations. For consistency, you should use the same header and footer across all of your email campaigns, which of course is available on Email Octopus.
So header, body, footer, they all make up an email. But
Yeah.
when we create one, we also need to focus on how we want it to look and where to display those different elements. Are there any structures I can follow to make this easier?
Yes, there is a couple of layout options that we want to share with you today. So, when creating your email design, you might want to place all the elements in a single column, one under another. This is the most common layout that we can see across email designs. Each element fits within the width of the email, which should ideally be 600 pixels, like we mentioned before. The single column layout is one of the easiest for reading. The content follows a clear structure, usually an image on the very top, the heading, then the text, and then on the very bottom, the CTA. It allows readers to scroll to the section of the email that is the most relevant to them without being overwhelmed by a lot of information. Arranging content this way will help your readers arrive at one clear call to action, especially if you use the inverted pyramid model by center aligning your images and CTA buttons.
Right. So even though this design is pretty simple, just one straight column, it does have its advantages, and you should use it when it makes sense.
Exactly. Another layout type, let's get into it. So this one is a multiple column layout. It uses two or more columns to display content. Remember that the ideal width for an email is 600 pixels, which does not give you loads of room to play with. It's best to avoid using more than three columns in this one. When multiple rows consisting of two or three columns are used, a grid format is created, which is perfect for displaying several different products in one email. They really look great. For example, for product announcement emails, as you can see, different creams here, that really works well for this type of email. This email layout is often used by brands that focus mainly on using images in their emails, as you can see here.
So, like commercial emails mostly. A single column email which advertises a lot of products would be pretty long and probably hard to read. Like we saw earlier, that very long emails can be a bit problematic.
Yeah.
What would be some examples of good multi-column layouts?
So, for example, if you would like to use two columns, which looks very good, you could adopt the Z pattern. It's also known as a zigzag pattern or a zigzag layout. Maybe you've heard about it. It's an angular layout that follows the shape of the letter Z like this, taking the reader's eye from left to right and diagonally down to follow from left to right again. It's a great layout if you're packing a lot into one email. It maintains a strong hierarchy with that first hero image. It also allows you to use multiple CTAs without confusing the main message. It's very, very readable.
Right. Even though there's quite a lot going on here, it's
Yeah.
still really easy to follow. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, your eyes just follow the messages on their own. It's a very great layout for a lot of products and a lot of CTAs, like discounted products, for example. The next layout that we wanted to show you guys is a hybrid layout, which speaks for itself. It's simply a combination of single columns and multiple columns used in one email. As you can see, it kind of changes from the top onto the very bottom. It also looks great if you want to include different information if you're in your email. So, for example, a discount, but at the same time, an announcement for a new collection, stuff like that. It's just very good.
I thought I'm team zigzag, but maybe I'm team hybrid because that sounds perfect to me. I can never decide which layout to pick, so
You guys
just
can tell
use
us which
both.
one is the best one in the
Yeah.
chat. I'm actually
Yeah.
very curious to see which one you like the best.
Okay. Good idea.
Yes, getting back to the hybrid layout, it's often used with a hero image. This one is very big, followed by sections of two or three columns to highlight additional messages or products, just like I explained earlier. So, whichever email layout you use, position the most important content above the fold, which is the area that your subscribers see first after opening the email. Ideally, this should include your primary CTA so they can take action immediately.
Thanks, Mia. But I have to confess, after all this information, now I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the skill to do it. You're a designer and an illustrator, but I feel like I have zero talent when it comes to that. Is there any hope that someone like me can make their emails ever look good?
There's always hope. And if the design is not your strongest suit, that's completely fine, completely okay. We'll live in an age where the internet and things online are helping us make our lives easier. So you can get a lot of inspiration online and even guidance from third-party resources. Here are some of our favorites. The first one up, we have Really Good Emails, which is my personal favorite. It's a third-party platform that offers well-designed emails across various industries. It's an excellent source of inspiration and keeping up to date with design trends. I personally use it a lot. It's you just scroll through those great designs. It really gets my inspiration going. It's like awesome. I love this platform. The next one up, we have Mild, which is also a third-party platform that has curated emails from thousands of different brands. It can help you explore how different companies craft their marketing messages and offer real life examples of email designs, layouts, content. You've got it all on Mild. And the very last one example that we have here, ta-da, we have our Email Octopus email design lookbook. It's a PDF document created back in 2021, but it really, I promise you, still hits the nail on the head. So it features different email design approaches, along with examples, insights, tips for improving your email design. It's really good. We come back to it from time to time. It's still hot, and you will be able to download it later because we will share a link in the follow-up email after our webinar. So look
Mhm.
forward to it.
Yeah, thanks, Mia. So all these options, I feel that they can help my creativity. But when the designs are so advanced, I'm afraid that this can also lead to some issues with displaying
Hmm.
the emails across different devices, like mobile, like tablets. How can I make sure that my email is optimized for all types of screens?
That is a great question. So, if you're using templates provided by your ESP or employing a professional designer to design your templates, make sure that designs are fully responsive. So, responsive design guarantees that your emails are easy to read on smaller screens. So, not only phones, but for example, also tablets. This includes automatically adjusting fonts, optimizing image sizes and position, and ensuring that button sizes adapt. Whether the email is viewed on a mobile phone, a tablet, desktop computer, doesn't matter. All of those have to be responsive.
Yeah, fair enough. It's good to be prepared for different scenarios.
Lots of different scenarios, lots of different screen sizes. Our Email Octopus templates use responsive design practices by default. All of them do. So if you're using our drag and drop editor, you can be sure that your emails will be automatically adjusted to various screen sizes. It also means that any email content in more than one column will stack on top of each other. So keep that in mind when designing your emails. It's very important. Sometimes it may look different on your phone than it does on your computer, and that is exactly why. So it's optimized for a smaller screen, so it's easier to read, so you can see everything. What else? You should include lots of space around CTA buttons, like we mentioned before, and links to make your emails as click-friendly as possible because you're doing it with your finger, for example, and not a mouse, which is more precise on mobile devices, of course. And also leave space around images, headings, text to help break up the email and make it easier to read on those smaller screens.
A moment ago, you mentioned that Email Octopus Editor is responsive by default, yes?
Yes, exactly.
So I can just create an email and send it out and not worry about anything, right?
Hold your horses there, partner. And that's not kind of how it works. So that's not enough. Before you hit send, test your email design. Please test it. Even though your email is responsive, yes, I can confirm that for the third time. No worries about that. You may realize that the way it renders on mobile is not the best layout for that specific device. So you can easily test your design directly within our editor in just a few clicks. It's really simple. We have the preview and test feature that allows you to preview your email across both desktop and mobile devices. You can also send a test message to your own email address to see exactly how it will appear in an actual inbox, giving you a chance to double check that everything looks perfect before sending the final version to your subscribers. You can also have a couple of different email addresses that you own with different email clients to check that before you hit everything you had send and send it to your whole list.
I'll definitely do that going forward. Yes, ma'am. Test, test, test. I remember now. But there are so many different devices and email providers. Like, I don't think that I will be ever able to test everything everywhere. That can take a lot of time and resources. Maybe there are some tools that can help us with that.
Yes, exactly. There is a lot. You don't have to own every single phone in the universe to test your design before you send it out. So, for more in-depth testing, you can use a third-party platform like Litmus or Email on Acid. Those are just great. They're lifesavers. These tools help you test your email design across various inbox providers and devices, different versions of those email clients. And they include dark mode, which is very important because some of your recipients will use dark mode by default as a system setting, like me, for example, and it really does change things. They're super helpful, those two tools, when you need a quick but detailed test. And don't forget to check your email for typos, incorrect links, and alignment too. So that's very important to keep in mind as well.
I make typos all the time, so I remember about that one for
We
sure.
all know that.
But yeah, shout outs to everyone who's on chat with me. I'm sorry, sometimes type too fast.
Yeah.
Are there any other testing criteria that I need to keep in mind?
Well, definitely, yes, there's a couple more. So, a big factor to take under consideration is the accessibility of your email. Um, for example, subscribers with color blindness may struggle to differentiate between certain colors in your email or have difficulty distinguishing text from its background if it's in low contrast. So, this can significantly impact their ability to read and engage with your content. So, I would suggest to use an online color blindness simulator to check how your email appears to people with the condition and make changes where you see it fit when you see it's necessary, because sometimes that contrast really is not enough.
I have to admit, I wasn't aware that such tools exist. That sounds super helpful.
Like I said, we live in an age where our lives are supposed to be easier. Those tools are really great. So I hope that you guys search for them and use them, and they're actually very great. More about accessibility, for example, is adding alt text to any image or illustration within your email. So screen readers, which are devices, they're assistive devices, they read the alt text to provide details about the image to the reader. So in our editor, you can add alt text by clicking on the image in your email and pasting the alt text into the dedicated section that you will see on the left within the toolbar. It's very simple.
Like, and quick, easy.
Yeah,
No reason not to do that. So,
exactly. It's always worth doing that, spending those a couple seconds to just do it for everybody. So similarly, make sure to feature meaningful links or button text to help inform your readers of where a link might take them. So generic text like, I don't know, click here. It's redundant. You don't know where it might take you. People know already that they have to click the link or button. So instead, maybe go for some more specific phrases like buy this item or buy blank item or read more or sign up to our newsletter. So that indication is very clear actually when you see it for the first time.
yeah, a clear call to action is definitely better than a vague one.
That's the truth. Yeah. Make your text as easy to read as possible by using a minimum font size of 14 pixels and using left alignment in paragraphs. This has been proven by many sources to be easier to read than justified text. All capital headings are harder to read than sentence case headings. So go for the latter to make your emails more accessible. And using sans serif fonts such as Arial or Verdana also improves that readability of your text.
So thanks, Mia. All of that was super informative. I think we covered the basics. So now maybe you have some pro tips. Anything else I should keep in mind when creating emails?
So this is my favorite part. I'm super excited. Current email trends. This is the last thing to consider when creating your email designs. Because after all, who would want their emails to look outdated, right? I think you guys would agree with that. So keeping them fresh and relevant is just key to standing out in a mailbox. So let's take a look.
Please do. I'm a middle-aged man. I want to know the newest trends on the block.
Let's get right into it. So I'm just going to say straight away, this is my favorite. So I'm going to emphasize that. So some things that I already mentioned before in the webinar would also be considered current email trends, yes. But I don't think that these that we have presented here will ever go out of style. So for example, as I already said, my favorite, including your logos and branding to make yourself recognizable, just recognizable straight away among your subscribers. This is a popular trend right now, but I truly cannot imagine it changing ever. It's very important to create brand recognition. So this one is just great. Another example that we have here is making email text scannable. So highlighting important things, bulleting out things so it's easy to read. Just a very simple structure here. Yes, we're keeping it simple. The next one is we also see a trend for more creative typography. So oversized text, for example, or including weird fonts and 3D text. It's very funky. And to add those to your email design, you would first need to create the text in a third-party image editor like Canva or Figma. Those are great for this type of design. And add it as an image to your email octopus template. This way, the text will display correctly across all email clients because, as we know now, after all this information that we have provided you guys with, that can sometimes not happen correctly. So an image works perfectly in that case.
So it's kind of also like a workaround for the issue where not all custom fonts would work normally. Like if you'll make your text into image, then it will display correctly.
Exactly. Yes, just like you're saying, Mr. Technical. So next one, let's get into colors again. So color blocking here, it might help you separate different sections of your email as well. For example, super fun visually, it just looks great. It stands out, catches your eye immediately. Just like look at those CTA buttons, immediately your eyes just are drawn there. So this is also a very good trend.
Yeah, I have absolutely no sense of aesthetics, and even I can say that they look great.
It just makes sense, right? So another one is, for example, you could combine this with the retro trends that include nostalgic elements for some of us. This trend strikes the right chord with certain communities by reminding them of collective experiences and just fond memories. So it allows you as a marketer to connect with people across different generations. It's just a great and a very smart trend. Before diving into this trend, make sure to do your homework well first. Do some research on an era that you want to reproduce. You have to understand what color palettes, fonts, and the design elements in general provide they provide authenticity. So also make sure to select the font carefully so the email copy is readable. That is also very important.
That one probably is the favorite of mine. Like it's just pleasant to look at.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying it's very smart because it just resonates with you, right? It like really depends, but it can really heavily resonate with you. You just look at it and you're like, oh, that's so great.
If you know your audience, their demographics, then you can
Yeah.
definitely go for that one. Yeah.
So if you have that data, it's very good to go for trends like this. I really enjoy that one. And the last trend that I don't quite enjoy, I have very strong opinions about this one. Here is the dark background trend. So this is a great way to make your email feel unique because not many people use that trend. But it can actually feel very unique in the inbox, and it can nicely complement your images because of the dark background. So your images can pop and they can really stand out. This, however, will require some testing across various inboxes, as different email clients might display colors differently. It can be a bit tricky to pair this well with devices using dark mode by default, since a lot of dark mode settings, they just straight up invert the color. So if you have a fully black background, it will be inverted to white. Sometimes some email clients don't pick that up, and the text that was white in the original copy stays white, which becomes unreadable. So make sure to test that as well. But it really stands out as a trend.
I'm guilty of that myself. Like whenever I wanted to use something dark, I was automatically going for pure black color, and yeah,
Mhm.
it can cause issues in dark mode. So if you want to use dark, go for some darkish gradient, not pure
Yes.
black. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Not going for pure black gives you and the email clients a bit more room to adjust the colors. For example, in dark mode, a very light yellow will become like this dirty mustard yellow. So, like we said before, it's very important to test your design beforehand, and just see what works for you.
So thank you, Mia. Those were all excellent points. And I think now we have some time to answer a few of your questions. Like, do you want to go first? Or you want me to start?
Okay. I'm just going to see what we have here because I have
Mhm.
not been looking
Please,
at the
please give.
question.
Yeah, we were focused on uh, giving you the goods, guys. So please give us a moment.
Yes, let's see what we have here. I would like this one. So Magda asked us, what's the best color scheme for a finance business? That is actually a very cool question that I would love to get into as a person that loves color and loves color theory. This doesn't really have that much to do with emails per se. However, there's known color schemes that complement each category, each business category best. For example, you might have noticed that some businesses that are, for example, IT or have to do with computers, they're usually blue. I don't know, Paul, have you seen those? I have seen those a lot.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
because the blue color is often associated with like very calm, technical, informative categories of business, or not even business, just straight up. It's a psychological thing. Also, it's just color theory. It's really good. For example, yellow and red, those like warmer colors will be associated with food. Um, what else? Pinkish colors and those maybe lighter beige and browns and just those pastel colors, let's say, would be, for example, associated with skincare brands, which are not very in your face, or if they are, it would be like scary colors that just pop in your face, like neon pink or neon yellow. So getting back to the question, for a finance business, I would go for navy blue, or just blues, or maybe teal colors like that. But there's definitely a lot of resources online. For example, on YouTube, there's a lot of videos about color schemes and color palettes and just color theory in general. So I would suggest getting into that before deciding on your brand color, because this can really impact your business psychologically. Sometimes it doesn't sit right with people, and they're just like, I don't really like this branding. It doesn't really sit right with me. So I would suggest getting into that before getting that those design guidelines that you set for yourself going. So for finance, I would go blue. I would go cobalt blue or navy blue. Hope that helps.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's it makes sense. When you said these colors, I was like, yeah, money. That's it. Okay, so I have to confess, I think I have some weird technical issue with my webinar window, meaning that I can't choose the option to
To start
answer
the right answer.
someone. Sorry, type type your. Oh, okay, now I can do that.
Awesome.
Because I was looking at Anne's question. I think
Oh,
it's pretty interesting. You mentioned adding the line view email in web browser. Is the web browser view of the email something that we need to design separately? Do we need to host the browser view? How do we add that line, and what should we link it to? This is a very interesting question.
That's very
So
good.
the way that the web version works is that when you design your email in Email Octopus or any other tool, you do it in your web browser. So the version that you're working on actually already is the web version of the email. That is like the one-to-one design that you want to achieve, and all the testing that we mentioned is connected specifically to the email clients, because that's where the discrepancies can show. But in the web browser, the email will look exactly like you design it in the editor. So who hosts it? We do it. But for the web version to appear, you have to send out your email either to your subscribers, so to your list, or to yourself, but as a real campaign, not a test email.
Yes.
When you send out a campaign, we automatically generate the web version for you, which has its unique link. You can access this in the account dashboard, and you can share it later on. And as for the tag that you need to add, I wanted to send it to you here, but actually now that I chose the option to answer you live, I don't have, maybe, oh, I will type it down on chat. Here it is. That's the link. And that's the merge tag that you use to insert the online version link for your emails. You should hyperlink it to something like a text saying, please click here to view your email online, because this tag will transform itself into a unique URL for that online version of the email. So you wouldn't like this link to be naked because it will be quite long. It has unique parameters to identify this specific email. Okay.
Yes.
No worries. Okay, so back to you, Mia.
All right. Another question Naomi has asked us, how do I design around dark mode? It consistently makes sections unreadable. That is a very tricky question, and I'm afraid I won't have a ready-to-go answer for you, because that really, really depends on your design. So I would recommend using Litmus here. It is the app that the third-party platform, it's web-based, that lets you see your email design in different email clients as well as dark mode. It really depends. Certain colors just straight up invert. They don't look good. So I would never really go for black anywhere. Backgrounds, text is okay, of course, obviously, but just a white background with black text is always the best option to go here. As I mentioned before, some colors might invert very weird. They might look very weird. Sometimes even the text doesn't invert. Sadly, this is something that we are not able to influence, and any ESP will not be able to influence that, because that is up to email clients. For example, if you know that a very big portion of your list uses, let's say, Outlook, I would suggest either creating an email address with Outlook and testing that constantly, testing that design in dark mode in Outlook with your email address before you send it, or using Litmus or Email Nacid that will let you see how that email will be rendered. Dark mode is very tricky, and we know that. However, rest assured that dark mode is not something that that many people use. I use it, for example, because it's a visual thing. It's like, visual impairment glasses. So some people might use it by default. But it all just takes testing. It's just testing and testing and testing. We have that problem as well. Everybody has the problem with dark mode, sadly. Sometimes it's something that you can never change. Sometimes it's just text that will remain like this because of dark mode. It just overwrites your design. So sadly, this is not something that we can change. But the only thing that you can control on your end is to test your design and try different ways to see how it might render.
And maybe even you can add some notification if you hear from your audience that your emails look weird. It might be because of dark mode. And in such cases, maybe you would like to add a note somewhere near the top of your emails that, hey, if this is hard to read, try either the online version of email, or maybe try disabling dark mode in your email client. Sadly, yeah, all we can do is play a catch-up game, because not only is dark mode disruptive, but nothing is set in stone. So email clients can, tinker with these settings all the time. So one day we might send an email that looked fine before, but Google suddenly decided that this particular gradient will be color reversed from today on as well. And
Yes.
there's
All
nothing we
right.
can do.
We don't really have that much time to answer more questions, but there is one that I would really like to answer and show you around our platform real quickly. So we have a question. Can you show us how to create a zigzag design pattern in Email Octopus? So I would like to show you guys our brand account that we have, our skincare brand. So let me just share my screen real quick. Let me see. Let's see if it's, oh, yes. Okay, great. It's showing. All right,
And
so let's
in the
get into
meantime,
it.
to everyone else whose question wasn't answered yet, we will get back to you personally with an answer. So no worries, everyone will hear back from us.
Yes. So to create a zigzag pattern, first of all, I would like to show you guys around our branding real quickly. So if you go into branding here in your account, you can see that you can add logos, you can add the primary color, you can add secondary colors, as well as set your typography fonts with maybe you want them to be bold always, or you want it to be italic, and social links as well. And here's a button to save all of this. Here you can add some more social links. So this is how the branding looks here. It's very simple. It's very easy to set it up. And now let's go into templates. So you can see that we have some templates done here already, but let's start from scratch. So let's create it. And for this one, I will be using our branded template. So you can go into templates on the left here, and under yours, there's a branded section. There you can see that after, of course, it will be all loaded, that our colors have been pulled into those templates, and our logo, our fonts, everything. So let's pick this one. The zigzag pattern is a 2-column pattern. So you can see here that we have some text, we have some images, and we have 2 columns. To create a zigzag pattern, you would insert a 2-column row, one after another. Let's see, one here, and let's insert another one under. So for a zigzag, to take us from left to right and left to right, let's choose an image here. We can choose it, of course. We can insert a block here. So for example, maybe not in this one, but let's insert it in this one. So text here and an image here. And that would, for example, also fit, maybe, let's see if it would fit a button. Nope. For example, like this. See? So there's an image, there's a button under, or maybe here. Maybe we want to put a button here and delete that one. If the text is a little lengthy, we can later, of course, adjust it by adjusting the padding, adjusting the width. You can see here, let's make it like this, for example. And then just repeat this. So insert another row like this, then insert an image here, for example, insert text. And let's say that we want to insert another button on the bottom, but I would have to insert another row, and we don't really have that much time. However, as you can see, it would take you from left to right. So left, right, Z, like this, likewise. So you would just insert 2 column rows over and over and over to achieve that. And it's really easy.
You might have noticed that it was a bit laggy, but that had to be because of screen sharing. Yeah,
Yes, I'm
we
sorry.
recently updated the editor, and it's really smooth. So when you will click it through it yourself in your email octopus account, the cursor will work normally. Yeah.
Yes, sadly, this is the platform. This is the platform, the live streaming platform.
Well, things are live, folks. So things can happen. Uh,
Exactly.
I think we need to wrap this up for now. So thank you all for your great questions and for spending your time with us today. We couldn't answer them all, but yeah, we'll be gathering and sending a follow-up email, as mentioned earlier, in the next few days. And in
Yes.
this email, we will also include all the links to the resources shared today. So if something catched your eye, but you didn't make a note, no worries. You won't lose anything. We will send precise information how to get to these places.
Yeah, we've
So
got.
any last words, Mia?
Oh yeah, I wanted to say something. Sorry. So I hope that email design process will be easier for you guys now. If you need some more guidance on how to use our editor or just email design in general, feel free to check out our knowledge base for more tips and our blog. It's great. Remember that it's not just about aesthetics, but also making sure that your subscribers can easily engage with what you're sharing. So keep those two important things in mind when creating your designs. And I hope that our webinar shed some light on some issues or maybe some practices.
So now officially, to close things up, thank you all for joining today's webinar. And if you have
Thank
any
you.
further questions, please feel free to reach out and stay tuned for more insightful webinars in the future. Have a great
Yes.
rest of the day or night, depending when you are right now.
Thank you guys very much.
Bye. Take care.
Take care.